Could this small, teeny detail lead the Maple Leafs to not be re-signing Noel Acciari? Before we go any deeper into the future of Noel Acciari, hello, my name is Nick Barton. I'm a hockey reporter in Toronto. If you do enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like. And if you're not subscribed to the channel and you're watching this video right now, hit the subscription button down below. That helps tell me that you're enjoying the videos. Now, let's talk about Noel Acciari and whether or not he'll be with the Maple Leafs. Let's go all the way back to February when the Maple Leafs traded for him and Ryan O'Reilly from the St. Louis Blues. A lot of the talk was that the Leafs are getting Ryan O'Reilly, a guy who's won the Stanley Cup, who's won the Conn Smythe, who's won the Selke, and it seemed like Noel Acciari was getting a little bit put on the back burner. There wasn't a lot known about Acciari when he came to Toronto, but as we got to know him a little bit, the Cookie nickname came out, and a lot of other things, including his hitting, showed that he is going to be an important player for this Leafs team in the playoffs before they ultimately got bumped off by the Florida Panthers a few weeks ago. It's been about a month and a half, so there you have that. But although Acciari was further down the lineup than Ryan O'Reilly, he was just as important, and at some points, to me, maybe even more important than O'Reilly was at some points during the games. I want to pull up something from StatMuse, and it talks a little bit about the hits that were made in the 2023 playoffs and how many each player had atop the ranks. As you can see, Radko Gudas at 93 hits, Sam Bennett 84, Keegan Kolesar 79, and in fourth place with 78 hits, it was Noel Acciari, who got ousted in the second round of the playoffs, yet he had almost as many hits as some guys who made it to the Stanley Cup final. Now that to me is a good sign that the Leafs maybe should bring him back. Some people might say, yeah, the reason he had a lot of hits was because he didn't have the puck as much, and I understand that to a point, but there are a lot of players on this Maple Leafs team who aren't really used to going out and delivering big hits. Luke Schenn was a big guy that they acquired who could have a lot of hits as well, but having Acciari there on a third line role, maybe a fourth line role too, using his body a lot, that's going to help the Leafs push past some of their opponents in the physicality side, and having him using his body will allow other Maple Leafs to see him using his physicality and letting the Leafs get more physical because of that, and seeing maybe Austin Matthews become more physical, William Nylander maybe, Mitch Marner. And if you look at the last regular season for the Maple Leafs, you had Zach Aston Reese with 163 hits, Justin Hall 151 hits, Rasmus Sandin with 113. Those three guys are not going to likely be with the Maple Leafs. Sandin's not already here. So you have Justin Hall, who had a lot of hits, Aston Reese with a lot of hits. He didn't really put a lot on the board for the Maple Leafs, but he did have a good few games. So you look at that, you look at John Tavares, Timothy Liljegren, Michael Bunting, who is unlikely to be back, and right down at number 8, you have Noel Acciari with 76 hits in 23 games with the Maple Leafs. That is a big number. And if you just put his two hit totals together from St. Louis and Toronto, you have 168 in St. Louis before joining Toronto, getting 76. This guy was a freight train with his body. He would hit anything that moved, and that was a good sign for Toronto, especially, again, in the playoffs. It was a good thing to have on the bottom 6 as a forward. But will the Maple Leafs re-sign him? Is it going to be worth it for him, for the Maple Leafs? I think it would. If you go to Cap Friendly and you look at his last deal, it was a 1-year deal worth $1.25 million. It was sort of, to me, it looks like a show-me deal from St. Louis. Acciari is 31 years old, so there is that. So it looks like it was a show-me deal, but I wouldn't hate the Leafs going at this with maybe a similar AAV for maybe 2 or 3 years. Acciari is a big guy, and he's going to, again, hit a lot of people. So if you get him around a 1.25, 1.5 year deal for the next 2 seasons, I wouldn't hate that from the Maple Leafs standpoint. Although, again, you might look at Acciari, and Acciari might think to himself, hey, I'm worth a little bit more than that. I use my body a lot. There's a lot of good things. And maybe he asks for around $2 million. And I'm not a GM. I should never be a GM. But $2 million, do I hate it? I don't like that much money going to Noel Acciari. But maybe it does work. Maybe the Leafs will look at that and say, hey, $2 million for 1 year. it ain't that bad. But he would have to produce a lot more, especially in the playoffs, to say he's worth $2 million, because he had 2 goals in the 2 series that he played in with the Leafs last season. So you look at that, I'd say 1.5 mil would be the sweet spot for the Leafs and for him to get a deal done. But the question is, with just over a week remaining until free agency, he's not re-signed. Ryan O'Reilly's not re-signed. Does that mean, does it show that he might not return next season? Chris Johnston, who was on TSN 1050 the other day, believes so, saying it's hard to see any of Luke Schenn, Ryan O'Reilly, or Noel Acciari being back because we are so close to July 1st, and typically, if any were coming back, it'd be done by now. Now, I have said this in a few videos, and it makes sense to me. Like, you get to free agency, you start to see other doors opening, and it should be one of the first priorities for the Maple Leafs and Brad Treliving, who likely is all in on trying to sign Austin Matthews, that, hey, the few of these guys should be re-signed first. And I get Austin Matthews is the big fish here, but a guy like Noel Acciari, he would be amazing to keep on your team. He's an older guy. He's a veteran. He knows what it takes to, play in the playoffs at this point. He's a big hitter. He uses his body. He uses his physicality. There's a lot of really good things with Acciari, and I think that it would be wise to walk him up before letting him go, see what's behind door number 2 or door number 3, because when he sees those doors, it could be a lot more money, or maybe a bit more money than the Leafs are offering him right now. And that's to even say if the Leafs are offering anything. Maybe they haven't even sent a contract to Acciari's camp yet. I have no idea. I'm not sure, but like Chris Johnston said, since he's not signed yet and July 1st is creeping up, it might mean that he is on the way out rather than rejoining this Maple Leafs team. But again, maybe he gets to free agency, sees what there is out there, and maybe he turns around and says, hey, I'm down to re-sign with the Maple Leafs. That's all going to be up in the air, and it is in the air right now because, again, we don't know what's going to happen. If he re-signs before July 1st, then we know he's going to be here. But if he hits July 1st, there's the possibility of another few teams or another lot of teams, because he's an important player. And a lot of these teams see what it takes to win in the playoffs. And one of the big things is being physical and being able to wear down your opponent. And I think Acciari does that, and he will do that whether he's with the Maple Leafs or any other team. He is a guy that, to me, would be a great fit for the Maple Leafs going into the regular season and all throughout it and heading into the playoffs, because he's, again, a guy who uses physicality. It just all makes sense. But I want to know what you think in the comments section down below. Do you think he stays? Do you think he goes? Do you think he hits free agency? Let me know all of that in the comments section down below. That, though, is where I'm going to end off today's video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like. If you really enjoyed it, subscribe. And if you're not new to the channel and you've been subscribed for a while, hit the notification button down below, right underneath the video, so you get a notification for whenever I upload. That is going to be it for this video. I want to thank you so much for it. Again, if you enjoyed, leave a like. If you really enjoyed it, subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one, whenever that may be. Could be tomorrow. Could be the next day. There'll be one this weekend, maybe 2 this weekend. We'll see. But thank you so much for watching again. We'll see you in the next video.